Mr President. Well, Europe faces yet another of its long line of crises. Only this time, in my view, is fast becoming a crisis of the legitimacy of the EU itself. Now, of course, many of us warned that the monetary union with a light touch that was envisaged in the Maastricht Treaty could not work and for a single currency to succeed, significant centralisation of power would be required. A centralisation, of course, that for many of us was totally unacceptable. And that, of course, is where you find yourselves today. You are bringing more centralisation upon yourselves in what is an increasingly desperate attempt to get ahead of the crisis, which so far you have completely failed to do. And when the markets are unimpressed with this, when the Spanish banks are lent €100 billion, then you have a clear signal that that failure is continuing. This latest Spanish bailout lasted barely 24 hours before it was, of course, as Mr Verhofstadt said, being questioned in the markets. And if I can use a somewhat crude analogy, it is a little bit like wetting your pants at the North Pole. At first, of course, it feels warm and comforting, but very quickly you realise just how much trouble you are in fact in. And let me make 2 points. Firstly, it would be unacceptable that the measures that you propose to take should fall upon those who proposed originally to steer clear of this risky venture. And secondly, those countries who signed up to join a single currency with one set of governing rules should not now be obliged to join a single currency with a completely different set of governing rules. So those countries who are not yet in the euro should therefore be released from their obligation to join. Now, over the last 20 years, the EU has become ever more out of touch with public opinion, and that has been shown in many recent elections and referendums. The people of Europe are becoming increasingly worried about centralisation, about the remoteness of those who are gaining more power in the EU by the day. And in no area is this seen more starkly than the management of the EU budget. The Commission talks about synergies, about investments, about added value, and the public just sees waste, mismanagement and fraud. You ask for an even bigger budget. The public just wonders why it is, for 17 years in succession, the budget has been implemented with significantly high levels of illegal or irregular payments. You complain that the concept of value for money is somehow getting in the way of European solidarity. The public just wonders how on earth you can justify wanting even more money when that which you already spend is spent so badly. Mr President, to win back public legitimacy and regain trust, the EU needs to take reform seriously. It needs to respond to the needs of the people and not impose ideas upon them. And make no mistake, when we are facing so many different crises on so many fronts, we are very fast running out of time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr Callanan. Before I take the next speaker, I've got 2 points of order, or rather 2 announcements. First of all, a blue card for Mr Watson, wanting to address a question to Mr Callanan. Do you accept that? 1 second, Mr Watson, before I give you the floor. I've got a very good piece of news. Mr Commissioner Lewandowski is celebrating his birthday today, and congratulations to Commissioner Lewandowski on his birthday. Mr Lewandowski, I cannot imagine a nicer birthday present than this current debate, really. Mr Watson, please.
Thank you, President. Mr Callanan, President, is among those who urges the European Union to get its act together. But does he not accept that if the European Union is going to be a success as a monetary union, without the UK, as seems to be the case, then it will need to do things which will have an impact on the United Kingdom, and therefore it is illogical to call for the European Union to sort out the problems that it faces, and yet to say that it may do nothing that will in any way impinge upon the single market. And does Mr Callanan not accept that if the European Union is to do this, it will need an adequate budget to do so?
I accept that for a single currency to work, there has to be a whole series of different measures. There has to be significant fiscal transfers from the richer states to the poorer states. And that is fine for me to say that as somebody who is quite happily outside of the single currency. If I was a German taxpayer, I might have one or two regards about that and one or two concerns. And as for this issue of the budget, that somehow a euro spent at a European level somehow magically appears from this magical money tree without any impact on national budgets, I just say one thing. It is surely illogical for the Commission, for Mr Lewandowski, Mr Barroso, to be saying to Member States, you have to impose austerity, you have to reduce your budgets, you have to get your fiscal balances under control. Oh, but by the way, we want more of your cash taken to a European level to spend on your behalf because we know how to spend it better than you do. Member States are not sitting there with large piles of cash. They are all running fiscal deficits. What the Commission are saying to them is, we want you to add to your fiscal deficit in order to give us more money, because somehow us spending lots of money at a European level will solve the crisis. Frankly, only a Liberal Democrat could believe that that would be the solution to the crisis.
Vielen Dank.